Chung-woo slammed his phone down harder than he meant to. The desk didn't crack, but his patience did. His office looked like a storm hit it. Papers everywhere, dust on the shelves, coffee rings on the glass table. 3 days. 3 days since he'd been back from Daegu, and the cleaning woman hadn't shown up once. He grabbed his phone again and scrolled through his contacts. Found her number. Mick Liliana, the janitor who was supposed to keep his private office spotless. His finger hovered over the call button for maybe 2 seconds before he pressed it. 1 ring. 2 rings. 3. Hello. The voice wasn't what he expected. The voice was small. Too young. Definitely not the woman he'd hired 6 months ago. Chung-woo frowned and pulled the phone away from his ear to check the number. Right contact. Wrong voice. Who is this? This is Tyler. The child sounded nervous. Maybe 7 years old or younger. Are you calling for Mama?
Mama.
So the cleaning woman had a kid. Chung-woo rubbed his temple, where a headache was starting to form.
Yes.
Put your mother on the phone. Silence stretched between them, and Chung-woo heard something in the background. Water running. Dishes clinking. The kid was probably home alone doing chores. He felt a weird twist in his chest but pushed it away. She's not here, Tyler said finally. His voice got even quieter. She's at the hospital. The headache got worse. Hospital? What happened?
She fell.
2 days ago. At another cleaning job. The boy was trying so hard not to cry, and Chung-woo could hear it. Her leg broke, and her arm too. The doctor says she can't work for many weeks. Chung-woo sat down in his chair and stared at the mess around him. 2 days ago. That explained why his office looked like this. The woman was in a hospital bed somewhere, and here he was ready to fire her for not showing up. Who's taking care of you? The question came out before he could stop it. Before he could remember that he didn't get involved in employees' personal lives. That's what his father always said. Keep business separate. Keep emotions locked away. My neighbor lady checks on me, Tyler revealed. But she has her own kids, so I mostly stay by myself. I cook rice and eggs. I can do it good. Cooking alone, and answering phones, and trying to be brave. Chung-woo's chest squeezed with sadness, hence displacing his initial anger. What hospital is your mother in? Tyler told him. It was across town in the cheaper district where rent didn't cost a fortune. Where people worked 3 jobs just to eat. Chung-woo knew that area. He owned buildings there. Collected rent there. Never really thought about the people living there until right now. Stay where you are, Chung-woo said. I'm coming over. He hung up before the kid could argue. Before he could talk himself out of whatever stupid thing he was about to do. His assistant Min-jae knocked on the door right as he was grabbing his coat. Boss, the meeting with the Hwang family is in 20 minutes. Cancel it. Chung-woo pushed past him into the hallway. His building sat in the heart of Incheon's business district, and usually he loved the view from the top floor. Today he didn't even glance at it. Cancel it? But sir, they flew in from Jeju specifically. I said cancel it. Chung-woo's tone left no room for questions, and Min-jae stepped back with wide eyes. The drive across town took 30 minutes through traffic that made Chung-woo want to punch something. His black car looked out of place in the narrow streets, lined with old apartments and small shops. He found the address Tyler had given him and climbed 3 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken. The apartment was tiny. 1 room probably. Chung-woo knocked twice and heard shuffling inside. The door opened, and a small face peeked out. Dark skin, darker eyes, hair in 2 puffs on either side of his head. The kid looked even younger than he sounded. Maybe 6. You're the man from the phone, Tyler said. Not a question. Just a statement. Can I come in? Tyler opened the door wider, and Chung-woo stepped into a space smaller than his bathroom back at the office. But it was clean. Everything had a place. Dishes drying by the sink. School books stacked on a low table. A mattress in the corner with blankets folded neat. You've been taking care of everything yourself? Chung-woo asked. Tyler nodded and twisted his hands together. I tried to call Mama's other jobs to say she can't come, but I don't know all the numbers. Are you going to fire her? Please don't fire her. She works really hard and she needs the money for my school, And I'm not firing her. The words surprised Chung-woo as much as they surprised Tyler. But we need to go see her. Get your shoes. Tyler stared at him like he'd grown a second head. Really? You'll take me to see Mama? That's what I said. The kid moved faster than lightning, grabbing a small backpack and shoving things inside. A coloring book, some crayons, a toy car with one wheel missing. The hospital visit wasn't on Chung-woo's schedule, but nothing about today was going according to plan. He found Liliana in a shared room on the 3rd floor. Her right leg was in a cast up to her knee, her left arm wrapped tight against her chest. When she saw Tyler run through the door, her face lit up and then immediately filled with panic when she saw Chung-woo behind him. Mr. Chung-woo, I'm so sorry. I meant to call, but my phone broke in the fall and I couldn't. Stop. Chung-woo held up a hand. Your son explained. How long until you can work again? Liliana's eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink away. The doctor said 6 weeks. Maybe 8. But I'll find someone to clean your office. My cousin maybe, or 6 weeks is a long time to go without pay. Chung-woo crossed his arms and leaned against the wall. What about your rent? Food? The kids' school? She looked down at her hands. I'll figure something out. I always do. That's what people always said when they had no idea how they'd survive. Chung-woo had heard it 100 times from tenants who couldn't make rent. Usually, he didn't care. Business was business. But usually those tenants didn't have 6-year-old kids cooking eggs alone in tiny apartments. I have a proposal, Chung-woo said slowly. You need somewhere to stay while you heal. Somewhere safe for your son. I need someone to manage my household staff. Liliana's head snapped up. Household staff. But I'm a janitor. You're organized. You're responsible. You raised a kid who can cook rice and answer phones properly. Chung-woo gestured at Tyler, who was coloring in a book at the foot of the hospital bed. That takes more skill than half the people I employ. I don't understand what you're offering. Move into my house. Temporary. Just until you're healed. You'll coordinate the cleaning staff, manage schedules, handle household inventory. Your son stays with you. You get paid. Everyone wins. The room went quiet except for the sound of Tyler's crayons scratching against paper. Liliana stared at Chung-woo like he'd spoken in a foreign language. Why would you do this? She whispered. You don't even know me. Chung-woo didn't have a good answer for that. Didn't understand it himself. Maybe it was the kid's voice on the phone trying so hard to be brave. Maybe it was the clean apartment despite everything falling apart. Maybe it was because his own mother had raised him alone after his father died, and he remembered what struggling looked like. Does it matter why? He asked instead. Do you want the job or not? Liliana looked at Tyler, then back at Chung-woo. What's the catch? No catch. You work. You heal. You leave when you're ready. That's it. She bit her lip, and Chung-woo could see her mind working through all the ways this could go wrong. All the reasons to say no. But then Tyler looked up from his coloring and smiled at his mother, and her expression softened. Okay, she said. We'll do it. Moving happened faster than Liliana expected. Chung-woo sent people to pack up her apartment, professional movers who handled her few belongings like they were made of gold. Within 2 days, she was being wheeled out of the hospital into a car that probably cost more than everything she'd ever owned combined. Tyler pressed his face against the window the entire drive, watching the city change from old buildings to newer ones to a neighborhood where houses had actual gates and gardens. When they pulled up to Chung-woo's place, Liliana felt her stomach drop. This isn't a house, she muttered. This is a palace. Chung-woo's driver helped her into a wheelchair while Tyler stood on the driveway with his mouth hanging open. The house was modern, all glass and clean lines, sitting behind walls that made Liliana think of fortresses. Inside was even more overwhelming, high ceilings, furniture that looked too expensive to sit on, art on the walls that probably had names she couldn't pronounce. Your rooms are on the 1st floor, Chung-woo said, leading them down a hallway. Figured stairs would be difficult with the cast. He opened a door to reveal a bedroom bigger than her entire apartment had been. Connected to it was a smaller room with a bed shaped like a race car and shelves empty, but waiting to be filled. Tyler's room, Chung-woo explained. You can decorate however you want. Tyler ran inside and jumped on the bed, laughing in a way Liliana hadn't heard in months. Her throat got tight. Mr. Chungwoo, this is too much. It's what I have available. Use it. He handed her a tablet. The cleaning staff schedule is here. For people come twice a week. The cook needs ingredient lists every Monday. The gardener, you'll meet him. He talks a lot. There's a physical therapist coming tomorrow at 9 for your first session. Liliana stared at the tablet like it might explode. Physical therapist? I can't afford. I'm paying for it. Can't have my household manager hobbling around forever. Chungwoo's tone was businesslike, but his eyes weren't quite as cold as they'd been in the hospital. The staff knows you're in charge when I'm not here. Any problems, tell me directly. He started to leave, but Liliana called out, Why are you really doing this? Chungwoo stopped in the doorway and was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, Because someone did something similar for my mother once. Long time ago. He left before she could ask more questions. That first week was strange. Liliana couldn't do much physical work with her injuries, so she focused on learning the tablet system, meeting the staff, understanding how Chungwoo's household ran. The cook was a cheerful woman named Sun-hee who loved feeding Tyler extra portions. The cleaning crew was efficient but curious about the new manager. The gardener, whose name was Biam, did indeed talk a lot, mostly about his prize-winning roses. Tyler adjusted faster than Liliana expected. He explored every corner of the house like it was an adventure. Found the library and spent hours looking at books with pictures. Discovered the backyard had a small pond with koi fish and visited them every morning before the tutor Chungwoo had hired arrived. Mama, there's a tutor? Tyler had asked that third day, eyes wide. Mr. Chungwoo arranged it. For while we're here. He's really nice, Tyler had said simply, then ran off to feed the fish. Nice wasn't the word Liliana would use for her employer. Complicated, maybe. Confusing, definitely. He left for work early and came back late most days. Barely spoke to her except to ask if she needed anything. But then she'd find small things. New crayons appearing in Tyler's room, a better wheelchair cushion, books on household management left on her nightstand. The physical therapist sessions were brutal, but helped. Slowly Liliana gained more mobility. Started walking short distances with crutches. Could climb a few stairs. The therapist said she was healing faster than expected. You must be motivated, she'd said with a knowing smile. Motivated?
Sure.
More like terrified this opportunity would disappear if she didn't prove herself useful. But as weeks passed and Chungwoo didn't kick them out, Liliana started to relax. Started to think maybe this wasn't temporary. Maybe she could actually make this work. Then everything changed on a random Tuesday afternoon. Liliana was in the kitchen going over next week's menu with Sun-hee when raised voices echoed from Chungwoo's office. The door was usually closed during his business meetings, but today it was slightly open and the argument was loud enough to carry. You can't be serious about this woman, a man's voice.
Angry.
Unfamiliar. My household arrangements aren't your concern. Chungwoo's voice was ice cold. Dangerous. She's living in your house. With a child. People are talking. Let them talk. This isn't just about reputation. Your father built this organization on rules. On tradition. Bringing in an outsider, a foreign woman at that, it makes you look weak. Liliana's hands froze on the tablet. Foreign woman. The words hit like a slap. She'd known people stared when she went into town with Tyler. Knew the neighborhood whispered about the African woman in Chungwoo's house. But hearing someone say it so bluntly, with such disgust, made her stomach turn. Get out. Chungwoo's voice was quiet now. More terrifying than yelling. Get out of my house and don't come back. Footsteps stormed down the hallway. A well-dressed man passed the kitchen without looking in, face red with anger. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Sun-hee and Liliana exchanged glances. The cook shook her head slightly. A warning to stay quiet. To pretend they hadn't heard. But when Liliana wheeled herself back toward her room that evening, she found Chungwoo standing in the hallway outside her door. He looked tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. You heard the argument, he said. Not a question.
Some of it.
And now you're wondering if staying here is a mistake. Liliana adjusted the wheelchair and met his eyes. Are you asking if I want to leave or if you want us gone? Neither. Chungwoo ran a hand through his hair, messing it up in a way that made him look younger. That man was out of line. I don't care what people say about my choices. But maybe he had a point. About perception. About what? That helping someone makes me weak? That kindness is a liability. Chungwoo's jaw tightened, and Liliana could see real anger there. My father built his business on fear and power. It destroyed him in the end. Made him paranoid. Made him lonely. I'm not following that path. The hallway felt too small suddenly.
Too quiet.
Liliana cleared her throat. Your staff respects you. I've seen how they talk about you when you're not around. How they try to anticipate what you need. That's not fear. That's loyalty. Something shifted in Chungwoo's expression. Softened. You've been studying them. It's my job to understand how the household works. That man who is here, his name is Dongmin. He worked for my father. Thinks he knows what's best for the organization. Chungwoo leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He's been pushing me to make certain moves. Questionable business deals. I've been refusing, and he doesn't like it. So this wasn't really about me, Liliana said slowly. It was about control. Smart. Chungwoo almost smiled. You're wasted as a janitor, you know that? Heat crept up Liliana's neck, and she looked away. I do what I have to do for my son. Tyler's thriving here. The tutor says he's brilliant with numbers. Sharp memory. Pride swelled in Liliana's chest, but she tamped it down. He's a good kid. Deserves better than what I could give him before. You've given him plenty. Don't diminish that. The compliment caught her off guard, and she didn't know how to respond. They stood in silence for a moment before Tyler's voice called from his room. Something about the fish needing food even though he'd fed them twice already today. Chungwoo pushed off the wall. I'll let you handle that. But Liliana? He waited until she looked at him. If anyone else gives you trouble about being here, tell me immediately. You're under my protection now. Both of you. He walked away before she could process what protection meant coming from a man like him. Before she could ask why he'd use that specific word with all its weight and implications. That night after Tyler was asleep, Liliana sat in her room and tried to understand what was happening. She'd come here desperate and broken, expecting temporary shelter at best. But Chungwoo wasn't treating this like charity. He talked to her like an equal, defended her to his associates, cared about her son's education. And somewhere in the past few weeks, she'd stopped seeing him as just her employer. Started noticing small things. How he was patient with Tyler's endless questions about fish. How he remembered Sunhee's daughter was taking university entrance exams and asked about results. How he'd quietly raised everyone's pay last month without making an announcement. This was dangerous territory. Liliana had learned long ago not to trust kindness too easily. People always wanted something. Always had angles. But when she thought about Chungwoo, all she could remember was his voice on the phone that first day. The way he'd driven across town without hesitation. The race car bed he'd somehow gotten installed in 2 days. The way he'd said you're under my protection with absolute certainty. Maybe she thought some people really were just good beneath all the complicated layers. And maybe that was the scariest possibility of all. 3 weeks later, Liliana was walking without crutches and managing the household like she'd been born to do it. The staff came to her with questions first now, even when Chungwoo was home. She'd implemented a new rotation system that gave everyone better hours. Had negotiated with suppliers to get better prices on groceries without sacrificing quality. Even got BM the gardener to stop planting roses in spots where they'd clearly never get enough sun. Life had found a rhythm. A comfortable one. Dangerous. Maybe, but comfortable. Then Dongmin showed up again. Liliana was in the library helping Tyler with homework, math problems the tutor had assigned, when BM rushed in looking worried. That man is back. The angry one from before. He brought others. Mr. Chungwoo isn't home yet, and they're demanding to be let in. Liliana's heart kicked into overdrive, but she kept her voice steady. How many others?
3.
Big guys. Security maybe. She looked at Tyler, who'd gone very still, pencil frozen over his workbook. 6 years old and already reading danger in adult faces. It broke something in her chest. Tyler, I need you to go to your room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me or Mr. Chungwoo. Understand, Mama? Now, baby. Please. He grabbed his things and ran. Liliana heard his door click shut down the hall and took a deep breath. Then she wheeled herself to the front entrance where Sun-hee and the afternoon cleaning crew had gathered, looking uncertain. Through the glass doors, she could see Dongmin and 3 men who definitely weren't here for tea and conversation. They looked impatient. Aggressive. Call Mr. Chungwoo, Liliana told Sunny quietly. Tell him what's happening. Already did. He's 15 minutes away. 15 minutes. Liliana opened the door just wide enough to speak through. Mr. Chungwoo isn't available right now. You'll need to schedule an appointment. Dongmin's face twisted into something ugly. I don't need an appointment for my own nephew's house. Step aside. This isn't your house, and I'm the household manager. No one enters without clearance. Liliana kept her voice level even though her pulse was racing. Come back tomorrow during business hours. You think you can speak to me like that? You're nobody. You're a... Careful. The word came out cold. Sharp. Liliana had learned that tone from Chungwoo without realizing it. Think very carefully about what you're about to say. Dongmin's jaw worked like he was chewing rocks. Chungwoo's made you bold. Given you ideas above your station. But you're still just the help. And the help doesn't tell family what to do. Family that shows up with muscle and makes demands isn't family. That's a threat. And threats get reported to authorities. Liliana pulled out her phone and held it up. I've already called the police. They'll be here in 5 minutes. She hadn't actually called anyone except Chungwoo, but Dongmin didn't need to know that. The bluff worked. His face went red, but he stepped back. This isn't over. Chungwoo needs to understand what's at stake. He's making decisions that affect everyone in the organization and take it up with him. Not with his staff. Not at his home. Liliana closed the door and locked it, then sagged against the frame as her legs went weak. Sun-hee rushed over to help her into the wheelchair. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Liliana's hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Make sure all the doors are locked. Windows, too. I'm going to check on Tyler. Her son was exactly where she'd left him, in his room with the door locked. When she knocked and identified herself, he opened it with tears streaming down his face. I heard yelling, he whispered. Was it that bad man? The one from before. It's okay now. He's gone. Liliana pulled him into a hug and felt his small body trembling. You're safe. I promise. What if he comes back? What if he hurts you? He won't. Mr. Chungwoo won't let anything happen to us. Even as she said it, Liliana wondered if that was true. If Chungwoo could actually protect them from whatever web of family politics and business dealings he was caught in. If staying here was putting Tyler in more danger than living in their cramped apartment ever had. Chungwoo arrived 12 minutes later by Liliana's count. She heard his car screech into the driveway, heard his footsteps heavy and fast through the house. He found her in Tyler's room, still holding her son. Are you hurt? His eyes scanned them both, looking for injuries. Did he touch you? Did any of them? We're fine. I sent them away. Liliana met his gaze over Tyler's head. But we need to talk. Later. Chungwoo nodded and crouched down to Tyler's level.
Hey.
You okay? Tyler wiped his eyes and nodded, but didn't let go of Liliana. You know what I have in my car? Chungwoo asked. A new video game for the system in the living room. Racing game. Thought maybe you'd want to try it later. If you're interested. That got Tyler's attention. His eyes went wide. Really? A racing game? Really? With cars that go super fast and tracks all over the world. But only if your mom says it's okay. Tyler looked at Liliana with such hope that she couldn't say no even though her nerves were still shot. 1 hour. Then dinner and homework. He bolted from the room like nothing bad had happened. kids were resilient like that. Liliana wished she could bounce back so easily. Chungwoo stood and helped her to her feet. She didn't need the wheelchair all the time now, but her legs still ached when stressed. They walked to his office in silence. He closed the door and turned to face her. "Tell me exactly what happened." So she did. Every detail from Dongmin's arrival to her bluff about the police. When she finished, Chungwoo was pacing like a caged animal. "He brought security to my house. To intimidate you." His voice was low. Furious. Unacceptable. "What does he want from you?" Liliana asked. "What's worth threatening your household staff over?" Chungwoo stopped pacing and rubbed his face. "There's a property deal. Warehouse district near the port. Dongmin wants me to go in on it with some associates of his. Claims it's a good investment. But you don't think so?" "I think the whole thing smells wrong. The associates he mentioned have connections to illegal operations. Drug trafficking, human smuggling. I run legitimate businesses. I'm trying to clean up the organization my father left behind, not drag it deeper into crime." Liliana sat in one of the office chairs and processed that. "So, he's trying to force your hand. Using pressure tactics."
Yes.
"And apparently using you to get to me." Chungwoo's expression darkened. "That ends now. I'm putting security on the house. Real security. And if Dongmin comes within a block of here again, I'll have him arrested for trespassing." "Maybe." Liliana hesitated. "Maybe Tyler and I should leave. Find our own place. This is escalating, and I don't want my son caught in the middle."
No.
The word came out so sharp that Liliana blinked. Chungwoo crossed the room and knelt in front of her chair, eye level. "You're not leaving because of him. You're not running because he's a bully with no boundaries." His hands gripped the chair arms on either side of her. "You leave when you're ready to leave. When your leg is healed and you've found a place you actually want to be. Not because someone scared you away. I won't allow it." His face was close enough that Liliana could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Could smell his cologne, something clean and understated. Her breath caught, and she forced herself to think clearly. "This isn't just about Dongmin though, is it? It's about principle. About not letting people push you around." "Yes. And maybe," Liliana's voice dropped quieter, "maybe it's also about not wanting us to go." Chungwoo's jaw tightened. Something vulnerable flashed across his face before he could hide it. "Maybe." The air between them felt electric. Heavy. Liliana knew she should pull back. Create distance. This was her employer. This was complicated in ways she couldn't afford. But then Chungwoo's phone buzzed in his pocket, and the moment shattered. He stood and checked the screen, expression hardening. Dongmin's calling. Probably to make threats. He answered on speaker. "What?" "You need to reconsider the warehouse deal." Dongmin's voice was oily. Fake pleasant. "It's a good opportunity. Your father would have jumped on it." "My father's dead. I make my own decisions now. Bad ones, apparently. Like letting that woman speak for you. Like hiding behind hired help instead of handling family business like a man." Chungwoo's knuckles went white around the phone. Call her that woman again and see what happens. "Oh, defending her now? This is worse than I thought. People are talking, Chungwoo. Saying you've gone soft. Saying you're distracted by. Here's what's going to happen." Chungwoo's voice could have cut glass. "You're going to stop calling. Stop showing up at my house. Stop harassing my staff. Or I'm going to make some calls of my own. To people who'd be very interested in your warehouse associates and their side businesses." Silence on the other end. "Then, you're making a mistake." "Probably. But it's my mistake to make. Stay away from my family." He hung up before Dongmin could respond. Liliana stared at him. "Your family," she repeated quietly. Chungwoo looked at her, and something in his expression was raw. Unguarded.
Yes.
"That's what you are now, whether you planned it or not." Security arrived the next morning. 2 guards who rotated shifts, watching the house perimeter, without being intrusive. Tyler thought they were cool. Liliana thought they were a reminder that this life wasn't normal. That living in Chungwoo's house came with complications she hadn't signed up for. But she couldn't deny things felt safer with them there. And she definitely couldn't deny how her heart had kicked when Chungwoo called them family. Family. The word rolled around in her head at night when she couldn't sleep. She and Tyler had been on their own for so long. Ever since his father had disappeared back to her home country, leaving her alone in a foreign place with a baby and promises that turned to dust. She'd learned not to rely on anyone, not to trust words like family when they came from men who could change their minds. Yet here was Chungwoo, proving himself again and again. Not just with words, but with actions. The security. The way he defended her to Dongmin. The small things like remembering Tyler like strawberries and making sure Sunhee always had them fresh. A week after the confrontation, Liliana found Chungwoo in the garden talking to BM about the roses. He looked different out here, less corporate and more human. His sleeves were rolled up, and there was dirt on his hands from helping replant something. The household manager shouldn't be doing manual labor, she called out, walking over without the wheelchair now. That's what you pay BM for. Chungwoo looked up and almost smiled. BM says I'm terrible at it anyway. Apparently, I plant things too deep. Because you have no patience, BM muttered. You want results immediately. Roses take time. Everything takes time, Chungwoo said, but he was looking at Liliana when he said it. Something in his gaze made her skin feel warm. BM excused himself to grab more soil, and suddenly they were alone in the garden with only the koi pond burbling nearby. Liliana sat on a stone bench and Chungwoo joined her, keeping a respectful distance. Tyler's tutor says he's reading at a 4th grade level now, Liliana said. He's 6. I never could have given him that kind of education before. He's a smart kid. Just needed resources. Resources you provided. A tutor I could never afford.
Books.
Time to actually focus on learning instead of worrying about food. Liliana's throat got tight. I can never repay you for this. I don't want repayment. That's not why. Chungwoo paused and seemed to choose his words carefully. When my mother was sick, someone helped us. A business associate of my father's who had no obligation to care, but did anyway. Paid for her treatments. Made sure I could finish school. I asked him once why he'd do that for strangers, and he said because I can. Because it's right. Simple as that. What happened to him? He died before I could properly thank him. Heart attack. Sudden. Chungwoo stared at the koi pond. I promised myself if I ever had the means, I'd do the same. Help people who needed it. Not for recognition or payback. Just because I could. Liliana felt something shift in her chest. This man who everyone thought was cold and calculating, he was just someone who'd been hurt and chose kindness anyway. Who remembered debts and tried to pay them forward. You're not what people say about you, she said quietly. What do people say? That you're ruthless. Dangerous. That you inherited your father's empire and rule it with an iron fist. Chungwoo's laugh was bitter. I am ruthless when I need to be. The business world doesn't reward softness. But that doesn't mean I have to be cruel in my personal life. Those are two different things. Dongmin doesn't see it that way. Dongmin's problem is he can't separate business from ego. Every decision is personal to him. Every disagreement is an insult. Chungwoo finally looked at her. That's why he targeted you. He knew the fastest way to hurt me was through people I care about. The words hung between them. People I care about. Liliana knew she should let it slide, not dig deeper, but she'd never been good at leaving things alone. Do you, she asked, care about us? Chungwoo held her gaze.
Yes.
More than I probably should. Her heart did something complicated. That's dangerous. I know. For both of us. I know that too. They sat in silence and Liliana tried to sort through her feelings. She was attracted to him, had been for weeks if she was honest. But attraction was easy. What she felt was bigger than that. Scarier. It was trust. Respect. The knowledge that this man would protect her son the same way he'd protect his own. I need to tell you something, she said finally. About Tyler's father. Chungwoo waited, patient. He left when Tyler was 8 months old. Said he was going back home for a visit. Never came back. Stopped answering calls. I found out later he'd gotten married to someone his parents approved of. Started a whole new family like we never existed. I'm sorry. I was angry for a long time. Felt stupid for believing his promises. But mostly I was scared because suddenly I was alone in a country where I barely spoke the language with a baby who needed everything. Liliana's hands twisted in her lap. That's why I work so hard. Why I accepted this arrangement even though it seemed too good to be true. I can't let Tyler grow up thinking he wasn't wanted. Wasn't worth fighting for. He's lucky to have you as a mother. Chungwoo's voice was rough. And for what it's worth, his father's an idiot. That startled a laugh out of her. Yeah. Anyone who walks away from you, and that kid is someone who doesn't deserve either of you. The warmth in Liliana's chest spread until she felt like she might burst with it. She reached over and took Chungwoo's hand. He looked surprised but didn't pull away. His fingers threaded through hers carefully, like he was afraid she'd disappear. This is probably a bad idea, Liliana whispered. Definitely a bad idea. People will talk. They already are. Dongmin will use it against you. Let him try. Liliana squeezed his hand. I don't know how to do this. How to let someone in again. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. Tyler's voice calling from the house broke the moment. Something about the fish being hungry again, even though he'd just fed them. Liliana stood reluctantly, and Chungwoo stood with her. For the record, he said before she could walk away, I haven't felt this way about anyone in years. Maybe ever. So, if we're doing something stupid, at least we're doing it together. Liliana smiled despite herself. That's either the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me, or the most terrifying. Probably both. She laughed and headed back to the house with warmth still blooming in her chest. Behind her, she heard BM return and say something to Chungwoo about looking happy for once. Chungwoo's response was too quiet to hear, but the tone was lighter than usual. Maybe this was stupid. Maybe it would end badly. But for the first time in 6 years, Liliana felt like she was building something instead of just surviving. And that was worth the risk. That evening after Tyler was asleep, Liliana found Chungwoo in his office going through paperwork. He looked up when she knocked and immediately closed his laptop. Everything okay? I wanted to talk about Dongmin. About what happens next. She sat across from him. He's not going to just disappear. Men like that don't take no for an answer. I'm handling it.
How?
Chungwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed and leaned back in his chair. I'm buying him out. His shares in the family businesses. Making him a cash offer he can't refuse. Will that work? Maybe. If the price is right. And if I make it clear that refusing means I start digging into his dealings. He's not as clean as he pretends. Chungwoo rubbed his eyes. It'll take most of my liquid assets, but it's worth it to be free of him. Liliana processed that. You're spending a fortune to get rid of someone who's threatening your family. Yes. That's actually pretty amazing. It's practical. Can't focus on building something new if I'm constantly fighting the old guard. But his ears went slightly red, and Liliana realized the compliment had affected him more than he let on. She stood and walked around the desk. Chungwoo tracked her movement with his eyes. When she was close enough, she rested her hand on his shoulder. Thank you, she said simply, for protecting us, for caring. Chungwoo's hand came up to cover hers. You don't need to thank me for doing what's right. Maybe not, but I'm going to anyway. They stayed like that for a moment, connected but not crossing any lines. Then Liliana squeezed his shoulder and headed for the door. She paused in the doorway. Chungwoo, when this is over, when Dongmin's gone and things settle down, ask me to dinner. A real dinner. Not as employer and employee. As whatever we're becoming. His sharp intake of breath was audible even across the room. Okay. She smiled and left before she could do something reckless like cross back and kiss him. One step at a time. They had time. For once, they actually had time. The buyout took 3 weeks to finalize, and those were the longest weeks of Liliana's life. Dongmin fought it at first, tried to rally other family members against Chungwoo, spread rumors about the African woman corrupting the family heir. But Chungwoo stood firm, and eventually money talked louder than pride. The day the papers were signed, Chungwoo came home early with takeout from Tyler's favorite restaurant. They ate in the garden while Tyler chased koi fish with his eyes. He'd learned not to actually touch them, but he still loved watching them swim. "It's done," Chungwoo said quietly. "Dongmin's out. The warehouse deal is dead. The associates he wanted me to work with are being investigated by authorities. Turns out I wasn't the only one who thought they were suspicious." Liliana felt tension she hadn't realized she'd been carrying drain from her shoulders. "So we're safe." "You were always safe. But yes, now there's no one trying to use you as leverage." Chungwoo set down his chopsticks. "Which means I can finally ask. Liliana, will you have dinner with me? Real dinner. Just the two of us."
Her heart jumped.
"Shouldn't we wait? Make sure things are really settled." "I've waited long enough. I've been patient and careful and appropriate, and I'm tired of it." He looked at her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. "I want to take you on a proper date. I want to court you the right way. If you'll let me." "Court me?" Liliana couldn't help smiling. "That's very old-fashioned." "I'm told I'm old-fashioned about some things." His lips quirked. "So, what do you say?" "I say yes. But only if Sunhee agrees to watch Tyler because I don't trust anyone else." "Already asked her. She's thrilled. Apparently the whole staff has been running a betting pool on when I'd finally work up the courage." Liliana laughed and felt lighter than she had in years. "The whole staff knew before we did? Apparently we're not as subtle as we thought." Their date happened 2 nights later. Chungwoo took her to a small restaurant by the water. Nothing flashy, but the food was incredible and the view was better. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. About Tyler's progress in school. About Chungwoo's plans to shift more of the family business toward legitimate enterprises. About Liliana's dream of maybe going back to school herself someday. "What would you study?" Chungwoo asked, genuinely curious. "Business management, maybe. Or hospitality. I'm good at organizing things, making systems work better. Might as well make it official." "You'd be excellent at either." They left the restaurant and walked along the waterfront even though Liliana's leg ached a little. Chungwoo noticed her limping and immediately offered his arm. She took it and tried to remember the last time someone had been this attentive. This present. "Can I ask you something?" she said as they watched boats drift past. "Why haven't you dated anyone seriously? Someone told me you haven't brought anyone home in years." BM needs to stop gossiping. But Chungwoo didn't sound angry. "The truth is I've been focused on rebuilding what my father almost destroyed. He made a lot of enemies. Cut a lot of corners. I spent my 20s cleaning up messes and didn't have time for relationships. And now I've realized that building a business empire means nothing if there's no one to share it with." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "You and Tyler changed something. Made me see what I was missing. Made me want things I'd convinced myself I didn't need." Liliana's throat went tight. You're not just anything. You're incredible. You're strong and smart, and you've raised an amazing kid under circumstances that would have broken most people. You manage my entire household better than anyone I could have hired. And you make me laugh, which is apparently something I forgot how to do. Chungwoo, I know this is complicated. I know there are 100 reasons why this might not work. But I also know I don't want to let you go when your leg is healed. I don't want you to find another place and move out. I want you to stay, both of you, permanently, as family, real family. Liliana's eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink away. That's a big thing to ask. I know. And I'm not asking you to decide right now. Take your time. Think about it. But know that I'm serious. About you. About Tyler. About building something real together. She reached up and touched his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. He leaned into her palm and closed his eyes. I'm scared, she whispered. Scared of trusting this. Scared of it falling apart. I'm scared too. But I think being scared together is better than being safe alone. He had a point. Liliana had been safe for years, safe and lonely and struggling. This was terrifying, but it was also alive. Electric. Full of possibility. Okay, she said. Let's try.
Let's build something.
But slowly. One day at a time. One day at a time. Changwoo agreed. Then he leaned down and pressed his forehead against hers. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for taking a chance on us first. They stood like that for a long time, just breathing together, and Liliana felt something inside her finally relax. Finally believe that maybe happy endings weren't just for other people. Maybe they were possible for a single mother and a reformed businessman who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances. When they got home, Tyler was already asleep and Sunhee was reading in the living room. She took one look at their faces and smiled. So, it went well? Very well, Changwoo confirmed.
Good.
About time. Sunhee gathered her things. I'll see you both tomorrow. Try not to stay up too late staring at each other like lovesick teenagers. After she left, Changwoo walked Liliana to her room. They stood in the doorway, neither quite ready to say goodnight. This is going to be interesting, Liliana said. Dating my employer. Living in his house. Trying to figure out boundaries. We'll figure it out. Changwoo brushed a strand of hair from her face. And for the record, you're not just my employee anymore. I don't even know what to call it. Partner maybe. Except that sounds too businesslike. How about we just call it what it is? You're the man I'm dating. I'm the woman you're dating. Simple. Simple. I like that. He kissed her forehead, gentle and respectful, then stepped back before either of them could push for more. Good night, Liliana. Good night, Changwoo. She closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding, and allowed herself to smile. Really smile. The kind that came from deep inside and refused to be contained. This was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, his family, her past, the complications of merging their lives. But for the first time since Tyler's father had left, Liliana felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. And that was enough. 3 months later, Liliana's leg was completely healed and she'd officially moved from temporary household manager to permanent partner in both business and life. Changwoo had insisted on drawing up proper contracts that paid her a real salary, not as a janitor but as the COO of his household operations and consulting on his legitimate businesses. You have a degree? He'd asked one night while they were reviewing documents. Finished it online while pregnant with Tyler. Business administration. Not from a fancy university, but it's accredited. Then we're making this official. You're too good at operations to waste on just household management. He'd slid a contract across the table. This is for consulting work on my property management company. Review tenant systems, improve efficiency, that sort of thing. Market rate salary plus benefits. Liliana had stared at the numbers and felt dizzy. This is too much. It's what you're worth. Take it or I'll be offended that you think I don't know the value of good talent.
So she'd taken it.
And within weeks she'd reorganized his property management systems so thoroughly that complaints dropped by 60% and tenant retention shot up. Turned out people stayed when their landlord actually fixed things and responded to issues. You're scary good at this, Changwoo's property manager had said after their 3rd meeting. Where have you been hiding? Cleaning offices and trying to survive, Liliana had answered honestly. Now she sat in on business meetings. Offered opinions that Changwoo actually listened to and implemented. Became someone he consulted before making major decisions. And through it all, their relationship deepened. They still hadn't crossed certain lines. No late nights in each other's rooms. No inappropriate displays in front of Tyler. But the affection was obvious. The way Changwoo's hand would find hers during dinner. How Liliana would straighten his tie before meetings without thinking. The inside jokes that made Sunhee roll her eyes and mutter about lovesick fools. Tyler noticed, of course. Kids always noticed. Are you and Mr. Changwoo gonna get married? He asked one morning while they were feeding the koi. Liliana nearly dropped the fish food. What makes you ask that? Because he looks at you the way Prince Charming looks at Cinderella in my storybook. And you smile all the time now. You didn't used to smile this much. out of the mouths of children. Liliana knelt down to Tyler's level. Would that be okay with you? If Mr. Chung-woo and I got more serious? Tyler thought about it with the gravity only a 6-year-old could muster. He's nice to me. He bought me the race car bed. He helps with my homework even though he's busy. And he makes you happy. He paused. Plus he said I could call him Uncle Chung-woo if I wanted. Is that the same as having a dad? Liliana's eyes stung. It can be whatever you want it to be, baby. But we don't have to rush into labels. We can just keep being a family the way we are now. Okay, but I think I want to call him Uncle Chung-woo. It sounds cool. That evening Liliana told Chung-woo about the conversation. They were in his office. She'd taken to working there on her laptop while he handled his business, just comfortable being in the same space. He wants to call you Uncle Chung-woo, she said without preamble. Chung-woo looked up from his computer screen. Something soft crossed his face. Yeah. He also asked if we're getting married because apparently we're not subtle about anything. Smart kid. Chung-woo closed his laptop and leaned back. For what it's worth, I've been thinking about it. Liliana's heart stuttered. About what? Marriage. A real future. Not just living together because it's convenient, but actually committing. He stood and crossed to where she sat. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out. But I've never been more certain about anything. Chung-woo. I'm not asking today. Not right now. I want to do it properly. Want to make sure Tyler's comfortable. Want to plan something that shows you how serious I am. He took her hands. But I wanted you to know where my head is. Where my heart is. Liliana stood and wrapped her arms around him, pressing her face against his chest. His heartbeat was steady under her ear. Strong and reliable and real. I love you, she said. The words felt huge but also simple.
True.
I think I've loved you since you drove across town to check on a janitor's kid without being asked. His arms tightened around her. I love you too. Both of you. My family. They stayed like that until Tyler's voice called from the living room asking if anyone wanted to watch his favorite cartoon. Life pulled them back to the everyday. But now it was an everyday filled with love instead of survival. The proposal came 2 months later in the garden where they'd first really talked. Chung-woo had somehow gotten BM to arrange every rose bush in the place into a massive heart shape, the old gardener grumbling the entire time about romance, making people ridiculous. Tyler was in on it, practically vibrating with excitement as he led Liliana outside under the pretense of the fish, acting weird. When she saw the roses, Chung-woo kneeling in the middle, her hands flew to her mouth. Liliana, he started, voice steady despite the nerves she could see in his eyes. You came into my life when I was building walls instead of bridges. When I convinced myself that being alone was easier than risking getting hurt. You and Tyler tore those walls down without even trying. You showed me what family really means. What love looks like. And I don't want to spend another day without knowing you're mine and I'm yours. Officially. Legally. Forever. He pulled out a ring. Simple and elegant. A single diamond that caught the light. Will you marry me? Liliana was crying before she could stop herself.
Yes.
Yes, of course yes. Tyler hooped and ran over, throwing himself into the group hug that followed. Chung-woo slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her, properly kissed her for the first time in front of witnesses, and Liliana felt like her heart might actually explode from happiness. Can I be in the wedding? Tyler asked, still hanging off both of them. Can I wear a fancy suit like Uncle Chung-woo? You can wear whatever you want, Chung-woo promised. You're the most important guest. What about the fish? Can they come? The fish have to stay in the pond, buddy. But we'll have the wedding here, so they can watch. They had the wedding 3 months later, small and intimate, just close friends and staff who'd become family. Sunhee cried through the entire ceremony. BM complained about all the flowers needed for decorations, but secretly loved every minute. Tyler took his role as ring bearer so seriously that he practiced walking down the aisle for weeks. When Chung-woo and Liliana exchanged vows, she thought about the phone call that had started everything. About the scared kid answering his mother's phone. About a man who could have fired her, but chose kindness instead. about all the small moments that had built into something extraordinary. I take you, Chung-woo, to be my husband, my partner, my family, through every challenge and every joy, for as long as we both live. I take you, Liliana, to be my wife, my partner, my family, through every challenge and every joy, for as long as we both live. The kiss that sealed it was perfect, and when they turned to face their guests, Tyler was right there between them, holding both their hands, grinning like he'd won every prize in the world. Because he had. They all had. 1 year later, life had settled into something beautiful and ordinary. Liliana ran Chung-woo's household operations and consulted on his businesses. Tyler was excelling in school, reading at 6th grade level now, showing real talent for math and science. Chung-woo had successfully transitioned most of the family business into legitimate enterprises and was building a reputation as an ethical businessman rather than his father's son. They'd had their struggles, of course. Learning to navigate a blended family wasn't always smooth. There were arguments about parenting styles, about work-life balance, about money and future plans. But they worked through it all because underneath everything was a foundation of trust and love that refused to crack. Dongmin sent a letter 6 months after the wedding, a stiff, formal thing that might have been an apology if you squinted. Chung-woo threw it away without finishing it. Some bridges weren't worth rebuilding. The best surprise came on a random Tuesday when Liliana was reviewing property reports in the home office. Chung-woo came in looking nervous in a way she rarely saw anymore. "We need to talk about something," he said. Her stomach dropped. "That's never a good opening." "No, it's good. I think it's good. But it's big, and I wanted to discuss it before doing anything." He sat across from her. "I've been thinking about adoption. Formally adopting Tyler. Making him legally my son, not just my stepson." Liliana's eyes went wide. "You want to, only if you're okay with it. And only if Tyler wants it."
But yes.
"I want to make it official. Want him to have my name if he wants it. Want there to be no question that he's my family in every way that matters." "Have you talked to him about this?"
Not yet.
"Wanted to make sure you were comfortable first." Liliana got up and moved to sit in Chung-woo's lap, wrapping her arms around his neck. "You're incredible. You know that. I just love him. Love both of you. And I want everyone to know it." They talked to Tyler that evening after dinner. He listened to the explanation with his usual serious expression, then asked about 10 clarifying questions that made both adults laugh. "So, I'd have your last name?" he asked Chung-woo. "Instead of Mama's? If you wanted. Or you could keep your current name. Or hyphenate. Whatever feels right to you. And you be my dad? For real?" "For real. If you want that." Tyler looked at Liliana. "What do you think, Mama?" "I think it's your choice, baby. Uncle Chung-woo, Dad Chung-woo, will love you the same either way. This is just about making the paperwork match what we already know is true." Tyler nodded slowly. Then he looked at Chung-woo. "I want to do it. I want you to be my dad. My real dad. Because my old dad left and you stayed, and that's what matters." Chung-woo's eyes got suspiciously shiny. He pulled Tyler into a hug and Liliana joined them, and for a moment they were just 3 people who'd found each other against all odds and decided to be family. The adoption process took 4 months of paperwork and court dates, but finally the judge signed the order and Tyler officially became Tyler Park Liliana. He'd wanted to keep part of his mother's name, because Mama worked hard for us and I don't want to forget that. They celebrated with ice cream and a trip to the aquarium, Tyler's choice, and that night Liliana found Chung-woo in their bedroom staring at the adoption certificate like it might disappear. "Having second thoughts?" she teased. "Never. Just amazed at how life works out sometimes. 2 years ago, I was alone in that office getting angry about dust. Now I have a wife and a son and a life that actually means something." "You always meant something. Not like this. This is different. This is real." Liliana climbed into bed next to him and rested her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for being patient with us. For letting us in even when it was complicated. Thank you for taking a chance on a grumpy businessman who didn't know what he was missing." "You're not grumpy." Tyler told me yesterday you're secretly a softie. That kid's going to ruin my reputation. Good. Your reputation needed ruining. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, and Liliana thought about the journey that had brought them here. About a phone call and a scared child and a man who chose kindness over convenience. About healing and trust and building something new from broken pieces. The trouble started when Chungwoo's business partner from Daegu arrived unannounced. Her name was Yeren, and she was beautiful in that effortless way that made Liliana's confidence wobble. She'd known Chungwoo since university, had helped him rebuild the family business after his father's death, and she spoke about their shared history like Liliana wasn't even in the room. Remember, when we worked those 70-hour weeks restructuring the Daegu properties? Yeren laughed over dinner that first night. We practically lived in that office. Survived on coffee and takeout. Chungwoo nodded politely, but Liliana saw something in his expression. Nostalgia, maybe. Or fondness. Either way, it made her stomach twist. Yeren stayed for a week supposedly to finalize a merger deal. But she lingered in Chungwoo's office during work hours. Texted him constantly. Made inside jokes that Liliana didn't understand. And worst of all, she was brilliant at business in ways that made Liliana feel inadequate despite her own success. You're being ridiculous, Sunhee said when Liliana confided her worries. That man worships you. Anyone with eyes can see it. But what if I'm not enough? What if he realizes he should be with someone from his world who understands his history? The breaking point came when Liliana overheard a phone conversation. Chungwoo in his office late at night talking to Yeren. I can't keep doing this. It's not fair to anyone involved. You need to understand my priorities have changed. Liliana's heart shattered. She didn't wait to hear more. Just grabbed Tyler and told him to pack a bag because they were visiting a friend. Her hands shook so badly she could barely drive. They stayed at Sunhee's apartment that night. Tyler knew something was wrong, but didn't ask questions. Just held Liliana's hand while she tried not to cry. Chungwoo showed up at dawn frantic and furious. What are you doing here? I woke up and you were gone. Tyler's things were gone. I thought something happened. I heard you on the phone with Yeren. Liliana's voice was flat. I heard you say you can't keep doing this. Understanding dawned on Chungwoo's face, followed by frustration. And you assumed the worst? Didn't think to ask me what that conversation was actually about. What else was I supposed to think? I was telling her she needs to stop pursuing me romantically. That's what I can't keep doing, ignoring her advances out of politeness. My priorities changed means you and Tyler are my family now and nothing she says, or this will change that. Chungwoo ran his hands through his hair. She came here hoping we'd rekindle something that never existed beyond friendship. I've spent the week trying to let her down gently and finally had to be blunt. Liliana felt like an idiot. Oh, that's all you have to say. Chungwoo's anger faded into hurt. You really thought I'd throw away everything we built for someone I see as a colleague? I got scared. Old fears about not being enough. You're everything. He knelt in front of her. You're my wife, my partner, the mother of my son. You're not just enough. You're more than I ever dreamed of having. And if you ever doubt that again, I need you to talk to me instead of running. Tears spilled down Liliana's cheeks. I'm sorry. I should have trusted you. Yes, you should have. But I understand why you didn't. Your ex broke that trust, and I'm still earning it back. He wiped her tears. Come home.
Please.
Let's work through this together. They went home. Yeren left that afternoon after Chungwoo made his position crystal clear. And that night after Tyler was asleep, Chungwoo and Liliana talked for hours about insecurities and communication and promises to always choose each other first. We're going to mess up sometimes, Liliana said. Both of us. Probably. But we'll fix it. Every single time. That's what family does. And they did. They fixed it. Made their bond stronger for having survived the doubt. Proved that love built on trust could weather even the storms of old fears and new challenges. Their happy ending wasn't perfect, but it was genuine. And this is the story that started from a phone call that changed everything to a family that nobody expected but everyone needed. Love works in mysterious ways, right? Sometimes the person you're meant to find shows up exactly when you've stopped looking. Drop a comment if this hit different for you.